Hi everyone, it's Angela De Palma here from She Simply Impacts. Welcome to our panel discussion topic series, and I'm very excited as always because today I've got with us Birgitta Ravenhill, Moana Robinson, Jane Shakespeare, and Sabina, the amazing facilitator. Sabina Armbruster is going to facilitate. So the topic today is Transform and Inspire, a woman's journey of impact and transformation. So let's see what comes out of this, what amazing sharing we might divulge. Sabina, over to you.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, so I'm looking forward to today because, like you said, Angela, today's topic is Transform and Inspire, a woman's journey of impact and transformation. Now, I looked up the meaning of transformation, and one of the meanings that I got, and I thought it was quite appropriate, was an internal shift that brings us in alignment with our highest potential. And I think that where everyone is at, it's very appropriate, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So to open up today, I would love for you all, and Angela, we might start with you. Can you share a brief overview of your journey and perhaps if there's been a transformation or what the transformation has been and the impact that it's had?
Sure, that's a big question to start with. And
It is a big question. Let's just keep it short for now, and we'll get deeper into it as we go along. I know we can all talk about our journey.
Absolutely. So, of course, my journey as a teenage and child was, a teenage and child survivor of family and domestic violence. So the first transformation for me was actually getting out of there, because my mum was a devout Catholic and she was committed to staying with my dad, and it was generational trauma because his father was a perpetrator of domestic violence as well. And he also had a mental illness, was an alcoholic, and unfortunately came from southern Italy where misogyny was very ingrained. So that was the first one. And then I left home, which was a big thing for a Catholic Italian girl who was, meant to just stay at home, finish your studies, get a house, go to uni, get married and that sort of thing. So I bucked the trend and moved out, and then eventually I moved to Sydney. And my next massive transformation in Sydney, very quick, was the beginning of the healing journey. So that was huge, obviously. And I didn't know who I was really, but I followed my gut instinct, which is what I always do. And I ended up healing myself. The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Once I read that book a few years ago, it really taught me that what I was actually doing, I was doing lots of yoga, lots of drumming, lots of dancing. I was in a percussion band with all women and we were doing gigs around Sydney. So that was a big transformation, because that was sort of like, I had the time of my life. I had a ball. I had the best time that I never had in my childhood and teenage. And then the next transformation was getting married. Unfortunately, I met the wrong, I chose the wrong person. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't read the red flags. I had my daughter quite young as well, at 26, which is not as young as Moana. And so that sort of, then the transformation, then I was doing more healing, meditating. And then he left me. And so that was the most, big, huge transformation again, where I had to, learn how to support myself financially. And there was a big time of learning, again, who I was, or relearning and discovering who I was. So that was all very transformational. And I think that started to really impact my journey towards founding She Simply Impacts. But there's more to the story, but I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, I was just going to stop you there because now we're getting into the present. So let's just stop it there and we'll get back to that. How about you, Birgitta? What's your journey?
Okay, well, I have the feeling that my life is a constant transformation because we're always growing and we're always learning. I came from the Netherlands, I grew up in the Netherlands, and I had quite a, yeah, I think quite a normal childhood. So there's not so much to say about that. But I was the first in my family to go to university. So that was a big transformation and a big change for myself and for my family as well. And I think one of the things that I transformed and I learned was to push myself, because not only did I study, and I studied a long time, so I took my time to study, but I also went into top sports. I did rowing, so I learned to push myself, push my boundaries, push my body, and that is actually one of the things that I took with me when I started working. So instead of, because I studied history, and instead of going into research or going into teaching, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go into business, which was something that was not really done, because you had to be either in economic or business studies, or do something completely aligned. Maybe law was something, but not history. And I was like, yeah, well, I want to do it anyway. So I sort of had to find my way around to get into that. So I transformed myself into going into IT, which was a kind of a different thing. And I climbed the career ladder, was pushing myself, doing things, and it was growing until I burned out. I was 38 and I was completely burned out. So I had to transform myself again, because I realized that the things I was doing were not working for me. I was in that period, I was also trying to get pregnant. And so everything on top of each other was just like too much. So I stepped back. I recovered pretty quickly because I had a very good support system. And when I got back into the office, I was actually pregnant. And I realized that I didn't want to go continue on the path that I was going. I wanted to step back a little bit, but I didn't want to compromise what I was doing. So I had to fight a little bit and transform myself as being the woman that was a mother, but was still in a position where she had a lot of impact. And that was not so normal when I was in that time. So I did that until I had enough of corporate life and went into work for a small company. And I did that for quite a few years. And then the biggest transformation of all came when we had an opportunity to go to Australia. And I was 52 at the time. So that was a big transformation, because you have your life, your work, your friends, your family, and all of a sudden to unroot everybody and move them over to the other side of the world, not knowing what to expect, because we were not expats. Because my husband bought a small company, and we started to live in Byron Bay, of all places, which is, compared to the Netherlands, it's quite a shift. But one of the beautiful things of being and living there was that all of a sudden I felt that I was quite disconnected from myself. And Byron has this deep rooting and connection with the land, which really helped me to rebuild that connection with myself. And we went through, I'm not going into all the difficulties that we went into, because I have been in positions there where I had never been before in my life, financially, and also without a support system and everything. But I think there were a lot of good things in there as well, because I found my resilience. I find the fact that no matter what life throws at me, I can survive that, and I can find strategies to get into and to find new things and to go to. And it also brought me on the path I'm now on, because I'm now a coach, and I realized that I have been doing that for my whole life, but I realized that that was actually what I really wanted. So that was my last transformation into coaching.
You sound like you're home.
Yes,
Beautiful.
sort of.
Thank you, Birgitta. Just one quick question. Could you speak English when you came to Australia?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I worked for international companies, and in the Netherlands you have to learn to speaking, or you have to learn English when you go to high school. So
Right.
now it's actually even in primary school, but at that time, and we didn't have dubbed TV, so everything, all the programs that came to us were in English.
Cool. Thank you. Moana, how about you? What's your journey? I heard a comment before, not as young as Moana. Tell us about that.
Was talking before it started about how old we were when we had our children, and I'm just celebrating my 43rd wedding anniversary today. And
Congratulations.
I just had my first daughter when I was 23 and a second daughter when I was 26. So at the time I didn't feel as though that was young, but that is quite young when I look back on it now, and when I see how old most women are when they have their children. We moved out to Australia when I was pregnant with my second daughter, and we had no money, absolutely no money. We were really, really living to the last dollar. And that was a difficult time, but in a way it was good because I couldn't run home to family because we didn't have any family over here. So that was tough. And since then, I've sort of grown through a few challenges, had a few health challenges, went to work full time when the girls were young in a legal office, and went from traditional legal secretarial type jobs to basically to skip over a few things to now be doing the things that I love to do. So what I'm doing now, I'm very, very excited to be doing. And I went through all the traditional roles, and honestly, I feel better in my 60s than I did in my 30s. So I think so, like the others have said, that it's a constant process of evolving, and I feel as though each challenge that I've had, including the health challenges, any relationship challenges, moving to a different country, they've all brought me to where I am today. And yeah, the biggest transformation has been, apart from getting older, but to work through those challenges and come out the other end wiser. So I believe these are the wisdom years.
Well, I'm looking forward to the 60s then, to be
Yeah.
older and wiser. Thank you, Moana. Jane, how about you? What is your journey? You've got a very different journey to ours, haven't you? Yeah.
I have, yes. So I left school at 16. I knew I had to earn money. My dad had been made redundant, and I know my parents struggled when we were teenagers. My brother had a hip disease at the time, and I can remember struggling as a family. You know, it was a lovely time. We were all very close, but it was also we struggled, I think, financially. My mum and my dad both worked as hard as they could. My dad was a painter and decorator. My mum worked part-time at an accountancy, and all I wanted to do was earn money and be able to help. So I got a job working actually in the days of the YTS scheme, where everybody was paid like £25 a week. I actually got a job earning me £50 a week when I was 16. So I was doing quite well, and I used to pass my driving test as early as I could, and was able to take my mum to work, which helped my dad. And yeah, so I did that until I was 21, and then I didn't have any qualifications with the company I was working for. It was an industrial photography firm, and I learned everything I could about that business. I worked in every single department there, and left there, but with no qualifications. So they actually taught me how to make circuit boards, but I didn't have the qualifications of a circuit board designer. So I was there in the early days of CAD design, and but so left there with no degree, no qualifications, and saw this advert, which it was in the 80s during the Thatcher era, where, you know, it was like, the world is your oyster. You could be whatever you want to be. And I got myself a job as a financial advisor. So I went and worked, literally, you could just, if you breathed on a mirror and you left a mark on the mirror, then you got the job. You know, it was, anybody could get a job as a financial advisor in those days. So we were able to I got trained as a financial advisor, obviously, and I went through the training, got my financial planning certificate, and I specialized. I actually went on to do my advanced financial planning certificates in pensions, and I became a specialist in pensions. And I literally set up my own business as a financial advisor and did that for 13 years. So, and I didn't just do it for that one firm. I actually became an independent financial advisor as well, because I started to realize, actually, I don't want to be able to just recommend one company's products. I want to be able to recommend many products. So my husband came home one day when I need to take a little bit of a gap out, because we did come to Australia for 2 years. When in the year 2000, when I was 14 weeks pregnant with my son. So he came home one day from work and asked if we wanted to go to Australia. And because I was pregnant at the time, I was looking for a way out. I actually didn't want to be a financial advisor anymore. It was too stressful. So we came to Australia the following that year. We went to Australia, and I was 14 weeks pregnant. So I was able to take time out while my son was born, and I actually had a really relaxing pregnancy, and then we went back to England when my son was 18 months old, and I used some study that I'd done in Australia at the time in doing a Bachelor of Commerce and my experience as a financial advisor to go to university to do an economics degree. And it was doing that economics degree in my final year. I studied development economics. I approached the university, having taken an interest in microcredit, and went over to Sierra Leone to research the impact that microcredit was having on women's lives. So having supported myself through my 20s and then meeting my husband when I was 30, and us having a good lifestyle. My husband had a good job and we had a good lifestyle. It completely turned my life around 180 degrees. I was in Sierra Leone researching with these women's groups over there, and just seeing little children that were rummaging in garbage looking for something they could eat or even sell for a few cents, with bare feet. Same age as my son. My son at the time was 5 years old. And just seeing these children and seeing the need, it turned my life around 180 degrees, and I couldn't go back to that life that I was leading up until then. And I knew I had to do something different. So I wanted to help these kids. So I turned 40 that year, graduated from my economics degree, and then we came to Australia again the year after that. My husband got this opportunity to come here. We'd got married that year as well. So I got married, turned 40, and graduated from university, then came to Australia. And so I had a whole new transformation at that point as well. And I retrained as a graphic designer. A few years later then set up a charity to help support these kids. And I also did a business management in philanthropy, not-for-profit study. And it's there's been a few transformations along the way to get to where I am today. And I'm now running a social enterprise as well. And so we've got the charity and the social enterprise. And it's just a very, very different life that I'm living today. So I'll end it there, because I realise I probably cut out a lot of things, but I had to shorten it somehow. So.
Jane, what does it mean to you to change lives in Sierra Leone? I mean, I know that is your absolute 100% focus. What does it mean to you, and how can you see that, that what you're doing is helping?
I think when you see somebody that has absolutely nothing and has got no opportunity, doesn't have the opportunities that I had, and even though I didn't feel that I had, when I left school, I went straight into work. I had that opportunity that I could get a job. I had my O-level results, right? So I got a job, and I was just keen, and I was young, keen. They could pay me cheaply, and it was. And I was able to learn, and I did build my way up in this company. I had that opportunity. These kids had no opportunity at all. So when you see when you see that, you just think, oh, I just want to give them enough. I want to be able to give them, but there was nobody giving them an opportunity. I couldn't see anywhere where they were going to be able to do what I did. So they needed to be in school. These kids, why weren't these children in school? Why was nobody caring for them? You know, so there's thousands of orphan children in Sierra Leone that do not have that opportunity. And we've got 85 kids in our program today, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? But to those 85 kids, it's huge. So
Jane, that sounds huge. That sounds huge. That's a massive achievement to have 85 children sponsored.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I would like it to be more, but we've actually not taken kids on in the last 2 years. We've got our reasons for that, because we just want to make sure we're giving the holistic and proper support to the kids that we've got. So, yeah.
Beautiful. It sounds amazing. So that's a huge amount of lives that you're changing, a massive impact on those lives. But coming back home for a minute, Moana, tell us about your business and how you change the lives of women, because it's a very different way, but you have a massive impact on how women feel. Just tell us about that and the changes that you see in women.
I find that most of the women come to me, a lot of the women that phone me or contact me, they will start off by saying, they'll say one of two things. They might talk about how they feel lost and they don't know themselves anymore. Or a very common one, the last couple of weeks has been, I'm turning 50 and now it's time for me. Now I want to find out more about myself. A lot of them don't even know what their favorite color is anymore. They've spent so much time raising a family or starting a career or a business, and they've just put all their energy into that. So they haven't spent the time on themselves. And I do feel that I give them the tools to transform themselves. So it's by giving them the knowledge and holding up the mirror so that they can see what I can see as well.
Moana, quickly tell us what you do. For those people that don't know what you do, tell us what you do.
I'm a personal stylist. I help women with their colours so that they know the colours that suit their skin tone, their eye colour and their hair colour. And I'm also helping them with their personal style so that they know what clothes suit their body shape. I'm also a life coach, and that's the reason I talk about styling from the inside out. Because yeah.
And so what happens when someone looks in the mirror with a colour on, and they know this is probably not a colour they've really thought about much in the past? What happens? What do you see?
I said, well, I ensure that they can see it themselves when they come to me, but the face lights up, so they look healthy straight away. And the colour in their skin improves, that highlights their eyes, their hair looks better, and they then can see themselves the difference in the colours that are placed underneath them. They can see the difference.
And tell me what happens after that. So as they continue on in life, what happens after that? Because I know that when I feel good about my clothes, I walk out of the room, my shoulders are back, I've got a smile on my face, and I just feel great. Like I feel like I can take on the world. You know, what happens to the women that you work with?
They feel that they can maybe go for that the pay rise that they want to go for, or they feel more empowered to start a business. If they want to start a business, they feel more confident on stage. If they're a public speaker, they feel more confident in their profession or their business if they've already got a business. So they just have that. It's just like when you get your hair done or anything that improves your outward appearance, it just has that circle effect. So when you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you look good. So it just has that holistic result so that you straight away have more confidence. And I really do believe that knowing yourself and knowing the colours that suit you, you just feel empowered and you become like your own piece of art. So you can recreate yourself with what you're wearing.
Love it. Angela, you do a bit of branding. Amongst all the other things that you do, you talk about branding a lot. tell us the effects of branding, because that has a lot to do with colours as well, but it also has a lot to do with, you know, understanding who you are, right? And what it is that you want, and visions and missions and all that. Talk us through branding when it comes to, you know, how you can make people feel.
Yes, so with the personal branding work I do, so I work with a lot of, my niche is mostly visionary entrepreneurs, and of course the caring, impact driven members of She Simply Impacts get the benefit of all of our skills, combined skills for all of us. But so the journey, it's very much about telling your story, and it starts with your goals, and then you work backwards. So because when you create a brand, it's the type, you know, authenticity is the most important thing. So it's about what part of your authenticity and your personal side, your personality, your personal life is relevant to help you in your professional credibility, to help you achieve the goals that you want. So it's a fast-tracked leverage strategy, because you build the brand strategically around who you want to attract and which opportunities you want to create. And therefore, you know, there's going to be relevant stories that you tell depending on what that is. So it's a strategy, it's a leveraged business marketing strategy. And it's very much what I find with my confidence of my clients, and why I love it so much, is because they will always learn something about themselves that they didn't know, because it's connecting their narrative. It's there because when you work on your values, even if your career changes, like Jane has shared that hers changed and Brigida's has changed as well, and even Moana's, all of our careers have changed. But if we look back, there's going to be a thread. There's going to be a thread about us and our values and our commitments that maintains all throughout the journey, because the personal brand is the thing that stays with us. So people leave companies, they change professions or industries, but you as a person, you travel with you through all these different things. And so it's about connecting the dots for people in their career narrative and their career journey, and really delving into why are you passionate about this and what pisses you off about.
And do you find that there's a journey of discovery for them, or that there is a discovery, and that sometimes they change as a person as well when you go through that process with them?
Definitely, absolutely, because they don't know things. So because when I start the process, I delve into their whole career history, into their journey. And so I will find things and connect dots. And people mostly don't, I mean, because we can only see a certain amount, because we're looking at ourselves from the inside out, whereas other people, they see us from the outside in. And so it's very hard to build your personal brand on your own, because it's not, people think, oh, it's about big noting yourself or self-promotion. But yes, it's about self-promotion and selling yourself, but it's like the authentic you. It's about allowing people to see the authentic us and our true self rather than the masked self, so that can help us achieve our goals. And our passion sells, and passion is contagious. So it's about connecting us with our passion, and then learning how to articulate that so that our audience connects with the deep passion of why we do what we do.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, do we? And often we need help with that. There's just so many underlying hidden treasures, I guess. And what I'm hearing is there's so many different ways of impacting people. So, Brigida, that brings me to you next. Tell me about, where are you at now? You know, what sort of impact are you having right now? You're on silent. Make sure you unmute yourself, Brigida.
That might be handier, then people can hear me. So can you repeat the question, because now I got a little bit distracted. What do you want to know?
No, I was just saying that, you know, there are so many different ways that we can impact people.
Yeah.
There's so many different that we can get people. What is it you do? How do you impact people? How do you change people's lives?
well, first of all, I'm working in the leadership space. So my biggest thing is to help them to impact others. So not only themselves, but impacting others. So it's like a little bit of a, how do you say that, something that spreads. But I call myself sometimes a shapeshifter, because we're all shaping ourselves in our lives, and I help them do that. I help leaders to create a presence, to become more aware of how they come across, how they are acting for themselves. There's a lot of overlap with what Angela just said, in the sense of becoming aware of who you are, what your story is, how you want to come across, how you want to present yourself towards others, and how you make sure that when you as a leader want to influence others, that you know how to do that and what kind of influence you have. And part of that is also how you connect to others. So what is the connections, and what are the connections, and what is the impact you make? So if you do something, what happens through the line? How does it work together? So I help to create that awareness, and I give people the tools and the strategies to do that in a better way, so that they
So,
can.
Birgitta,
Yeah.
along the way, you've obviously always been an achiever. I mean, when you talk about rowing, that was at a very young age. That was a long time ago. It's in you. It sounds like it's in you to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
And so I'm guessing you have quite an impact on the people that you work with as well. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
what sort of strategies, or what are some tips that you have to share to actually find that inner leader in them?
Well, I think the most important thing to find your inner leader is to be authentic, to find out who you really are. What is your identity? Who do you want to be? And who are you now? And to make the comparison with rowing, I mean, you can sit in a boat, but you're not a rower. It's the same with a leader. You can get into the position, but you're not a leader yet. You have to sort of try to feel what's going on. You have to find emotion. You have to know what to do, what the processes are, what the impact is of what you're doing. And
Is leadership something you can teach, or is that
Yes,
a journey
absolutely.
that you take people on?
Well, it is. I think it is a journey, but there are things that you can teach. We're very often talking about leadership skills, which is important, but it is not enough. You have to also have the emotion, the intuition. You have to be able to understand when you have to be when you can be vulnerable, when you have to command somebody, how you make decisions. So it's that fine tuning, that alignment that needs to take place of what's expected of you. What are your values? What are the goals that you're setting for yourself, and how does it influence others? And I think one of the most important things of leadership is to be able to serve others. So to be in service of others, so that you are looking at how you can help other people reach their full potential. It's not so much about you, it's more about that. Sorry?
Tell me about mentorship. Have you had plenty of mentors? Is that something that you recommend for people to do? Tell me about mentorship.
Okay, yeah, mentorship. I believe that mentors are very important throughout your career. It's always, and I believe that we have to be strategic about that. So if you want to achieve certain goals, it is important for you to think about who would be somebody that can help you with that, who has done that before, and reach out to these people and ask them to help you with certain things and tell you about their experiences, because that will help you to go forward. I do also believe that it's important to have a coach, because there's a little difference between a coach and a mentor. A mentor is somebody who has experienced it themselves and can talk about give you advice based on the experiences they have. A coach can take you just a little bit beyond that by asking you questions that you haven't thought about and going deeper in a lot of ways. So the combination of that is important. And the third thing you need as a leader, or if you're really career driven, is to have a sponsor. Somebody who is willing to bring you to the level that you want to go, who's really willing to stand up for you and to promote you.
And we're all leaders, so I'm translating that in perhaps we all need a sponsor. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Jane, how about you? You're on, yep.
Hmm.
Did you have a mentor when you transitioned or when you started your charity? Was there someone that helped you through all those times? Because I have no doubt at all there were some pretty challenging times in there, especially how different that was to anything you've ever done before.
No, is the answer. I other than my husband, who was he was a big support, but he didn't have experience in charity, right? And he'd never been to Sierra Leone, so he didn't know. He's always wanted to support, happy to support me, but had no idea. He had no idea about the culture in Sierra Leone at all, and neither did I. So this was something we had to learn. So I guess I had a Sierra Leonean support in Father Peter Conte, who was a larger than life African priest. And he actually has been a big help in helping me deal with certain cultural issues that we have struggled with through the years. And he is our technical advisor after all. So yeah, he helped me register the charity there, and I registered the charity here. I got somebody in the government in the ATO that actually got behind what I wanted to do, and they helped me get the DGR status that I needed. So I've had people support rather than be mentors. Yeah.
So you've found the people that you need in the areas that you need them in. That's another way of looking at things.
Yes.
Thanks, Jane. Angela and Moana, I know that you two have had coaches and mentors, and you do the same yourself. Angela, tell me about the most influential mentor or coach that you've had.
Yes, so I've had a few, like when I started because I'm a self-taught professional, so along the way, I've always been self-taught. So when I learned, because I spent a lot of years, when my ex-husband left and I started running my own businesses, I've been involved in many different projects and set up many different brands, but a portion of that time, I was really into outsourcing to the Philippines, and that was my business. And I had a business called Go to Outsource, and I was recruiting and teaching entrepreneurs. I was an early adopter back in 2011 when the industry was not mature yet, and I was teaching entrepreneurs how to outsource successfully, and I was also recruiting virtual assistants for them. So I learned those skills on the job, and I got a job. There's an entrepreneur who now lives in the Philippines called Mike O'Hagan, and he owned the company Mini Movers, and he was one of my first business mentors. And I worked at his company for 6 months, so not for very long, but he was really amazing. And the culture that he created, and he was just this amazing mentor that just loved helping people. And I'm still friends with him to this day. And a few years ago, he's got a property on the Gold Coast, and like he's actually a really, really super successful top guy, and he's from New Zealand originally. And he runs this.
So if you get stuck with anything, is he someone that you could still turn around and call?
Yeah. Oh, anytime. In fact, I messaged him the other day, where are you? And he's actually on a boat in Alaska, and I said, are you coming back for Christmas? And he said no. And he said, when are you coming over? He said, no, it's time for you to come over. And I said, agreed, but I don't know when that's going to happen. But then the other mentors, like I've had amazing coaches. Like when I was setting up She Simply Impact, I worked with many different coaches. I did intensive coaching for about 18 months, and I was practically having a coaching session a day. And I worked with, you know, some people say don't, because there were just so many obstacles I had to overcome, especially the imposter syndrome and putting out a vision that's so big, you know, to unite 1 million women. And I was, et cetera, which is on our website. But I, you know, so I had a mindset coach. I had a coach that edited all my poetry. I wrote a book. I self-published my book in that time. It was just really incredible. And everyone helped me in a different way. And that's why, to me, coaching, healing, coaching, and community is everything. It is everything. And, you know, if you really want to accelerate yourself, coaching to me is foundational. So
The way to do it.
Many coaches, I still have many coaches because I attend sessions and She Simply Impacts. And every one of you women, you know, have impacted me and helped me so much. And I'm just so indebted and grateful. And so, yeah, like I've had many. And there was one coaching session, I just have to share one that really blew me away once. I don't know how it came about, but when I was a kid, this is really embarrassing because obviously I grew up with a bully and a perpetrator. I became bullied when I was at school. And so obviously I was very ashamed about that. And, you know, like looking back, and somehow that came out in the coaching session. And she just helped me completely reframe that and turn that into like such a superpower that, you know, yes, that may have happened when I was, you know, insecure, because obviously I was threatened and insecure and a very insecure kid. And, you know, that usually that's what bullies are. And then, you know, when I was 12, all the girls in my class turned against me. And I had no friends when I was like halfway through grade 7, and I got the biggest lesson in my life about humility. And my only friends were the, you know, like the uncool kids type of thing. And so she sort of helped me reframe the whole thing and just really think, well, because there's always something positive in a negative. And so she helped me see that I have the balls and the guts to set this up and move forward with this. And it was really transformational. I was like really blown. I'll have to go back and read the notes of that session, but that session blew me out of the water. And
You know, I heard this beautiful yep, go on.
That shame just evaporated.
I heard this beautiful analogy, I guess, the other day, and it was about you know, you've got a past like that, whether it's bullying, whether it's grief, whatever it is. It's like a rock. A rock never changes. It stays the same shape. It stays the same size. But as you grow, you change. The rock never changes. So this grief, this whatever it is in the past, it's yours and you carry it with you, but it never changes. But you change, and you can actually measure your change. You can see your change by the way you grow apart from this rock, or you grow from this rock, yet it never changes. So it's you that changes. And often we don't see that, do we? Until we kind of look back and go, oh my God. And it's the meaning that we put to it. It's the meaning. It has such an impact. Moana, what is the biggest transformation that you've had from coaching, or having had a mentor, or having someone that's, you know, been influential in your life?
Wow, biggest change. I've had quite a few coaches and mentors. I guess the biggest change was when I actually went to coaching college, and we had to do self-coaching 101. And it was the peer coaches that I had at coaching college and all the coaching sessions. And that is what slowly changed me, as well as life experience. But it's all the people that I've met along the way in the coaching journey, because I never really realized what coaching was all about. And I wrote a chapter in a book that was published by the owner of the coaching college, and it was called, I called it Imperfectly Perfect, because I always thought that to be a coach, you had to be a perfect person. I didn't realize that it was just having that sense of curiosity. So now every person I meet, I have a sense of curiosity about them. That's for clients, coaches, mentors, anyone. And I ask a lot of questions and I learn from those people along the way. So I can't really pinpoint one particular person, but I have had some amazing mentors and coaches. So it's just been that evolving through life that has sort of brought me to where I am today.
Great. Do you think the transformation is conscious or unconscious?
I think it's unconscious, because I look back now at photos of me when I was in my 30s, and I realize how much wisdom I have gained, or how many changes I've been through since those days. And I think it's not until you look back and you think, wow, so much has changed about me, like the inside of me. So I do think it is unconscious. I think the more you consciously try and change or try and transform, then it sort of isn't as easy and as flowing. And that's why the She Simply Impacts sessions are so good, because they're not planned. They're just, as they evolve and as they blossom each session, I think then it's more of an unconscious change that happens from the sessions.
Brigitte, how about you? Conscious versus unconscious? You're on mute.
I'm always on mute.
No, you're not. No.
I know. I think it's both. I think you can. So I think there's a difference between change and transformation. So you can start with a change, and it can be a very small change that leads to a transformation because of the subconscious impact that it has. So I think the big thing is that we often think that transformation has to be something big. But my experience is that transformation always starts small. And it's a small change you make that can have a really big impact. So a big transformation in whatever you do. And I think that's the power as well of the whole transformation, that you don't have to go big steps and big changes. No, small steps can lead to that transformation.
Wow.
It takes more time. It's not immediate.
Wow. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. So tell me about, how do you, if it's conscious and unconscious, do you need to recognize strengths in yourself in order to make a conscious change? Or do you think that's then unconscious and it just happens?
I believe that it's always very good to be aware of your strengths, because your strength can help you to overcome any weaknesses that you have. It will help you to like I do the session on She Simply Impact about stepping out of your comfort zone and living a life outside of your comfort zone. Knowing your strength and having these with you and being aware of them can help you to push those boundaries and to step outside and to do and experience new things. So yes, it is definitely something that's important. And then when you make these changes, your strengths will also subconsciously support you and help you in creating that transformation.
Jane, you probably see a lot of transformation in the children that you work with, the people that you work with. Do you think that do you think it's conscious for them? Because you obviously you work with children. Children are very different.
Yeah, when I
You probably see transformation, do they?
yeah, look, we've got a range in our program at the moment. They're aged between 3 and 24. So we've got some older kids, the youth in our program, yeah. And what I love about them is how they want to give back to the communities that they work in. So when I have conversations with these older kids and ask them what they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be oh gosh, what I have recently, an engineer. I've had, you know, and what we then have to look at is, well, are these jobs available for these kids, you know? So we've got a girl that's just graduated from nursing college, and there wasn't a job for her, and I'm like, well, if you approach the hospitals, yeah, there's no job. So we've got her volunteering in a clinic. So we're now thinking, okay, we've got to look at, you know, what we can, how these kids can maybe give back in their communities for the opportunities that they've been given. So we're working with them at the moment to, and in fact, we'll have it coming up this year, and we'll probably start this as from this year, is talking to them about, you know, before you actually go on to do a degree or a course or what it is you want to do, which we never ever poo-poo. We always support them in whatever their dreams and ambitions are. You know, we will have that conversation with them about maybe volunteering for 6 months or 12 months before they make that decision, because what we're finding is that they're not always academically equipped in order to go on and do the course. And it could be that they're not doing the right things because they don't get that career management advice that we get. And I know when I left school, I just went in and got a job, but it's not the same in Sierra Leone. There's 70% youth unemployment. So, you know, we have to be realistic in what they can achieve, and we're starting to look at other ways that we can help them become self-sufficient.
Have any of them ever wanted to leave the country and, you know, make an impact from outside of the country?
No. So we haven't had one want to leave. However, there was one girl that was outside of our program that was a friend of one of the kids in the program who did leave, and she is being trafficked into, had a passport taken off her, working in the Middle East. I'm in contact with her. So, you know, what we're doing in Sierra Leone is actually helping keeping them there, because they're seeing that they're getting the opportunities. They're seeing the opportunity they've been given. And this other girl, her name's Doris. Okay, she actually wasn't in our program, and I regret to this day her never being in the program. And I always thought she always came across as though she was someone that was coping and she was okay. And she was living with a carer who seemed to be supporting her, and Father Peter was also supporting her. Father Peter was devastated when she left, because he's also got a home where he brings these girls up and puts them all through college and you know, helps them become self-sufficient. And she wasn't one of them. She was living with another carer, and she got coerced. She got talked by these traffickers who offered her a better life, and she went. So, you know, it is a problem, and you know, refugee problem the world over is huge. I believe what we're doing at grassroots is actually stopping these kids from leaving the country. So
beautiful, thank you, Angela. Strengths. How do you identify your strengths? If you're somebody that wants to make an impact, wants to make a difference, how do you identify your strengths that you can use in order to do that?
Well, I think if you have the desire in the first place, you have some strength, you know, like, because I think someone that wants to make an impact, you're not going to even have that thought. So there's something in you that's pulling you towards this making a difference. And so therefore, even that is a strength, you know, that is like, so I think that, like, identifying strengths, it comes over time. It's also a journey, you know, like I wouldn't, you know, if you'd asked me my strengths 10 years ago, like my strengths now, and even before I started She's Simply Impacts, it's really catapulted, you know. So I had a desire to make an impact. So I think identifying strengths, I mean, sometimes it's obvious, right? Like you just know what your strengths are, you know what you're good at. Often, well, for me, I know that sometimes my strengths and what I'm happy to do, because I'm happy to do something, it will become a strength. Whereas if I'm good at something, it's not necessarily what I'm meant to be doing. Like I was good at Italian, you know, I was groomed to be an Italian teacher, and my mum taught me proper Italian and not dialect. You know, she was very strict on that. But then it wasn't what I was, you know, I didn't develop. It got me by because I was good at it, naturally good at it. But, you know, you have to apply yourself. So I guess strengths, it's good to have that, you know, like what your strength is not necessarily the strength that you want to develop. Because
how do you understand what your strengths are? Because often you just go, well, I can just do that. That's easy. It's easy for everyone. But it's actually not. How do you identify your strengths?
So me personally, or how does one? Me,
Either way.
Yeah. So
if you've got an experience, tell us your experience.
Yeah. Well, you can tie strengths back to achievements. So let's say someone doesn't know. So let's say I'm coaching someone and I say, what do you think your strengths are? And they don't know. Well, I could ask them, what have you achieved? Or what have you done that you've really enjoyed? And what comes easily to you? So there's a bunch of different questions that I might ask if they don't know what their strengths are. And sometimes we inherit our strengths, you know, like I come from a family of communicators, like salespeople. My sister's a barrister. I'm a coach and a teacher, you know, and a speaker. So we are strong in this, like our genetics, like, and we've come from a line of teachers and communicators, basically. So one of my clients, she's an artist, her mum was an artist. So some of our strengths, it's quite, I would approach, it depends on who I'm coaching. But for myself, I think I've been able
I think you've identified a very important question there, and that is what comes easily to you. And yeah, I had some conversations on the weekend with women that were saying, you know, I'm at the part of my life where I need something, I need to change. But they've been struggling for years to work out what it is. And a simple question like that can make all the difference. That's a great question. Moana, how can women build resilience through challenging times? So if you're going through a challenging time, often you can't see, you know, what it is that you need to do. And there's things that you need to, strategies, I suppose, that you need to implement. What are some of those? How do you build that resilience to get through that next difficult time?
I think having that sense of self-awareness and realizing that you are getting through. I really love that saying, if you're going through hell, don't stop, keep going. And I remember I've had a pretty serious time 3 years ago when I had 4 surgeries in 1 week, rushed into the operating theatre. And the fourth time I had surgery, I didn't think I was going to come out of it. And all the nurses were sort of saying, you're so strong, you're so tough, you're so resilient. But when you don't have any other choice, I mean, you can't just curl up and think, I don't like this, I'm just not going to do it. It's when you don't have a choice. And sometimes, you know, if you just think that you've actually chosen what is happening to you, and then you you just decide to get through it, because after all, it's just life, it's just the universe. That's what is happening to you. And there's, if you can't do anything about it, you've just got to get through it, and to realize that you are getting through it. Even when you think, how am I going to get through this? Just think, I am getting through it. I'm getting through each day. And then before you know it, you're out the other side. So
there was an absolute gold nugget in that, and that it's your choice.
yeah. So think about it as if you chose it. And if you chose it, then you've got the responsibility to get from where you are to where you want to be, which is the other side of whatever challenge you're going through. And that bridge is that bridge of responsibility. So it is how you respond to whatever is happening to you. So it's just having that resilience. I don't see any other way apart from resilience.
Birgitta, how about you? When it comes to challenges and building resilience, does planning and goal setting play a role?
Yes, it can. Because one of the things that I find is that if you have something that you're aiming for, that you choose to work on, that will help you to get past that moment where you're sort of sitting and thinking. And one of the things it brings to mind, one of the moments in my life where I felt that I was really, really bottom down. So I was really at the bottom of a pit. And I remember I was sitting at our house in Suffolk Park, and we just heard that the company had gone bankrupt and there was no money in the bank, and I had to provide for the children and for the family. And I was sitting there and I was really like, what am I going to do? But there was only a moment at that where I was like, okay, I've never felt like this in my life, that feeling in the pit of your stomach. And then I was like, okay, I started to strategize and to think, what can I do here? Who can I approach? What can I do? And setting goals and saying, okay, I need to find a job. I didn't know what it was going to be, but that was my goal. Was like, okay, I've got a plan now. I can get out of that, because if I have that, it means that I can provide and I don't have to worry too much. So it does definitely help to set yourself a goal, even if it's a small one, to say, okay, I'm going to take that next step, and that next step will bring me a little bit higher, and it takes me a little bit out, climb the mountain again. And that always helps. And it is, like Moana said, it is a choice, because you can sit there and moan and complain and do nothing, or you can say, well, okay, what can I do? And what can I pick for myself?
Goal setting is one of those things, isn't it, that we think is, it's boring, it's not really something, and the same with planning, but we do it naturally, don't we?
Yeah, we do it every day. Basically,
yeah.
We always set goals. We do not do it always consciously. We very often subconsciously do things. I mean, and it is a natural thing to do plan, even if you think you don't.
So we're all good at planning. Jane.
We are, well.
Jane, building resilience in the children that you work with, do you have some strategies? What is it that you guys do? How do you build resilience for the people that you work with?
I think I learned resilience from them. They're the ones that are resilient. Seriously, they're more resilient than any of us. Yeah, it's interesting, because I see the challenges that they have, and yet they're still really positive. They don't have laptops, they don't have computers, they don't have Zoom, they have the rainy season where they have to get around, they don't have transport, they're on the backs of motorbikes on rough roads. It's not easy for them, and yet they do it with a smile on their face, and they're just really grateful that they're being given the opportunity that they have. So they're the most resilient people I know. I learn from them.
Jane, what's the benefit of looking back and seeing the achievements and celebrating the achievements? For you,
for me. Yeah, look, I'm proud. I'm quietly proud of what we're achieving, and I've seen kids that have been with us since 2014, so it's 10 years. So I've seen them grow, and I've seen how they were, and the confidence they've built over the years, and what they're becoming. And you know, when one of the young guys told me he wanted to study IT, I thought, oh, this is going to be a challenge, right? We got him a laptop computer. He'd never opened a laptop before in his life. He hadn't learned how to use a computer. He'd probably been into the occasional internet cafe and had a dabble and gone on with his friends who did know how and got, you know, learned the internet or whatever. But no, he didn't know how to use a computer. So I thought, this is, you know, we should be encouraging him to become a fisherman with his uncle, who was a fisherman, but he didn't want to follow in his uncle's footsteps. He saw the challenges his uncle, he saw how hard working it was, and he wanted to do something different. And I thought, well, okay, who are we to dash his dreams? So we supported him. He's now been studying IT. We got him a laptop. He's been studying IT for 2 years. He works so hard, and he asks people in the university to help him if he struggles with anything. So he's got mentors there that help him as well. He's doing great. He's getting really good results, and yeah, I have no doubt that he'll go on and do something. He actually wants to set up a charity. And he wants to own his own NGO, you know, and help support the kids in his community. So I know, you know, we will no doubt support him whatever he wants to do. So we'll work with him. He may work for us one day. Who knows?
Do you celebrate those achievements?
That's your achievement too, right? Yeah, I know. We should be celebrating it. Yeah, absolutely, and we will. I mean, to me, our job isn't done until we get these kids earning an income for themselves and becoming self-sufficient. And when that happens, we will celebrate. At the moment, we're just getting them through the program.
Angela, tell me about celebrating your achievements. Do you celebrate achievements?
Probably not enough, I would say. Probably not enough. But I certainly remember there were 2 major achievements in Chief Simply Impacts which really stand out. One was the day the event started, and that I managed to pull it off. And I remember saying to one of my coaches that this is like the biggest achievement, like the train is moving. And but I don't think I celebrate enough, no, a bit like Jane. And the other achievement was the launch. Like, that was one of my career highlights last year in July. And so, no, I don't celebrate achievements enough, definitely not. I might take that on board after this.
Moana, how about you? Do you celebrate achievements? You're on mute.
Yeah, I do in small ways, and that started from when I went to a kinesiologist once, and she was the first one. I think it may have even before I did my coaching, and she spoke about celebrating achievements, and I would do it practiced doing it in small ways. Like if I tidied up a room when the kids were younger, I kept on opening up the door and congratulating myself on how beautiful the room looked, just small things like that. And then I find that the more I celebrate an achievement, then the more I'm encouraged to go on to the next one. So yeah, I run an accountability group every week, and we do goal setting, and that's part of it, that we celebrate the weekly achievements. So it sort of encouraged me to break things down into smaller chunks, and the tasks which are part of the goals, so that I could celebrate more often, probably.
It makes a huge difference to your day. I mean,
Does.
I have to say, when I can cross off one item on my to-do list, I'm so good. I feel so good. And I always smile. But Gita, how about you? Do you celebrate achievements?
Absolutely do. I think it's so important to do that, and it's actually one of the things that I discuss with my clients as well, because it's not only good for yourself because it gives that dopamine kick when you do it, and it's fun, and we have to have enjoyment in life, but it's also good to motivate and encourage the people you work with. And so, yes, absolutely. Celebration is one of the things that is part of what I do.
Beautiful. I love it. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. This morning, I was at my network meeting, and I'm chair of this network meeting, and I introduced a lady and who is just this beautiful lady, and one of her businesses is called, she presents WOW Awards. And so what she does is she goes into organizations that want to recognize their staff, and she presents WOW Awards to them for doing wonderful things. And I'll tell you what, every time we present a WOW Award at one of our network meetings, it literally brings tears to people's faces, because we're just so happy for them and so excited about the work they've done. I cannot explain how good it makes you feel when you celebrate either your win or someone else's win. Angela, I'm just reading your comment. I used to buy a pair of undies every time I made a sale. That is a classic. I've got to ask Angela, why undies?
I don't know. I just, because I like those bamboo undies, you know, those bamboo undies. So it was like a great excuse to give myself
What a
another pair.
classic. That's great. I mean, they make you feel good. They're comfortable and they feel good on your skin, doesn't it? That bamboo. Oh, great. Angela, what are your hopes for the future of women in leadership? Actually, no, let me not women in leadership. What are your hopes for women in the future?
Yes. So my hopes for women in the future are obviously that, you know, the vision of She Simply Impacts is every woman and child confident and thriving. So that's one hope. And the other one is that I'd like to see, I think that every woman we support, we're one step closer to having a more equitable world. So I guess my dream is to advance women, because I'd love to see a world where at least 50% of women are in leadership, and at least 50% of women in the positions of power, own 50% of the wealth. I'd just be curious. I would just love to see what sort of world that is, because right now it's not that. And I'm super curious. And so,
Angela, can you define leadership?
yeah, so, you know, I guess leadership, I'm looking at the really high level of people that control power in the world. You know, people, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is for, I'm just curious, and I just believe, my gut is that it would be a different world than the one we're in at the moment. And so I guess, but, you know, in its very, on an individual level, it's women being heard, supported, and becoming unstoppable, so that nothing gets in our way from getting to where we want to go and what success looks like for each individual woman, which is going to be different from woman to woman. So that's really what I want to see. I want to see a 50% split in everything down the line, and just see what that looks like. And so for that to happen, I think women need to, you know, there's a bit more work to do, that's all.
Moana, what is your wish for women of the future?
Women to be confident in themselves and to realise their own value, not to have to seek external justification for their existence, so that women just know like you were talking about the strengths before, so that women know and understand themselves and understand that they're valuable no matter what strengths they have, no matter, you know, even what their weaknesses are, so that they just have more confidence and they really value themselves a lot more. And then I think if women value themselves more, then they won't seek validation from other people, maybe partners that aren't right for them or people who don't treat them correctly. Once women value themselves, they will stand up for themselves and realize that they are important human beings.
Do you think it's possible for
Definitely.
everyone?
I think it is possible if that is encouraged. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bagita, how about you?
Well, for me, I think it's well, it relates to everything that has been said before, of course, but I think women start to are really believing in themselves and are seeing their strength and are becoming aware that they have choices. So that they're, even when they feel they're stuck, there's always a choice to make a change. And that is very important for them to see, because we do have choices wherever we are. And the other thing that I hope is that women are going to collaborate and find strength in supporting each other and in helping each other and in finding new solutions and opportunities with each other. Because I believe that when we are sticking together, when we're connecting, that we are able to create beautiful things together. And yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jane, how about you?
So sadly, the inequality SDG that we're trying to hit, the Sustainable Development Goal, which is number 10, is not being hit. And especially with gender, no country in the world is actually on track to solving gender inequality. And I think there's a lot of work that we need to be doing. You see signs of it here in Australia. I mean, young girls are definitely a lot more confident than when I was younger. But I also, you know, I don't know. I remember when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily feel disadvantaged. I thought, no, I guess I did, because I my way of dealing with it was to learn more, was to study hard, was to power dress. Yeah, so growing up as a financial advisor during the 20s, I used to wear a business suit and just become better than the guys in my office. But I was in a position where, you know, it didn't matter whether you were male or female. If you worked hard, you could earn as much as the guy in that particular industry I was in. So I did as well as the guys in my office, and I think that because of that, I didn't see it was inequitable for me. Yeah,
so Jane, I can hear your almost frustration with it all. But what are your hopes for the women of the future?
I hope that they can, you know, be, oh goodness, just you know, it shouldn't matter, should it, whether you're male or female? I mean, yeah, sure, you should be able to do whatever job you want. I mean, obviously, if it's a real physical job and you haven't got the strength of the guy next to you, but there are some women that do have more strength than some guys, you know. So yeah, it's just that you should just be seen as a person and not as whether you're male or female. I think can just be able have those opportunities. I think there are too many men in CEO positions, and more women need to be in more leadership positions. But I think we're starting to see that.
What do you think would happen if they were? If there were more women in leadership?
I think there'd be more empathy. There'd be more empathy, and that oh goodness, it's really hard, because then I start and think of people like Margaret Thatcher. She was in a leadership role, right? And she was nicknamed the Iron Lady, and she was like as bad as most of the guys. So there wasn't much empathy with her. But then I look at somebody like Jacinda Ardern, you know, and I just think, wow, she's a leader, and she's got empathy, and she was I believe was a great politician. But some would disagree with me.
Jane, who is the female that's been a role model for you? Is there someone, you know,
model.
like for me, it's a bit of a it's probably a bit of a cliche, I suppose, but I look up to Oprah Winfrey, you know, purely because of what she's done, who she is, the emotions that she shows. She's not afraid, you know, and I go, oh my God, she's just amazing. And she just wanted to do it. And so she did it step by step. And she's built and built and built. You know, Jane, while you have a think, I'm going to ask the other ladies. Moana, what about you?
She would cringe at this, but actually my mum.
Aha.
She had been married 3 times. She was married quite young, and to a guy, my mum's English, and she lived in India. She was married to a guy from the British Army, and they lived on a tea plantation, and she went through all sorts of things there. She went through the war, and she's 97 now. Yeah, she would disagree with me, but she's someone who has been an inspiration to me, not because of anything really outstanding that she's done, but just the way she has been resilient in life, and just some of the things that she has done.
Beautiful. Love it. Jane, have you thought of anyone?
Yeah, and I mean, you say my mum is an inspiration to me as well. You know, she's been through a lot in her life, and she's very resilient. And yeah, absolutely, I love my mum for many reasons. She can keep secrets. She is very stoic, and yeah, an amazing lady, and keeps a smile on her face when she's going through it as well. You know, I ring her most days, and my mom is very rarely down. Yeah, so she's even if she is down, I can, by having a conversation with her, I can work it out. She never ever comes on. She always tells me she's doing okay and she's fine. Yeah, always.
I love that you said she can keep a secret. Oh, that's so important,
she can.
isn't it? Oh, Birgitta, how about you?
Well, I don't think I have a particular role model. I've been asked that question more than once, and I always find it very, very difficult to come up with someone, because I believe that if I look through all the people I've been in contact with, that are friends, that I've worked with, they all have something that inspires me, or most of them do. And so I pick up things and pieces from everyone. And so I've never put anybody on the role model pedestal, but I just take my inspiration from who I meet.
Everyone. Love it. Angela.
Yes, I can relate to everyone so far. My mum is definitely an inspirational person to me, and so I can sort of say ditto. But also Oprah Winfrey is someone I really, really respect and admire as well, because I think that she's a trauma survivor. Her story is quite incredible, and just the gift to humanity that she is, and just all the incredible people that I've met through her books and things like that, and her book on trauma, I think, is amazing. And that's where I heard that word, the post-traumatic wisdom. So I think that there's a lot of women, the women in She Simply Impacts, the coaches, the experts. Jane, you know, like I feel so, I just think you're all incredible and that you are here. We're just purely here to serve women. That's what we're here for. And everyone is just so generous and kind-hearted. It's just blows me away. So there you go.
And you know, on that note, I'm going to end this. If we've gone way over 1 hour, I have so enjoyed this conversation. I've loved listening to everything you've all said. We've talked about transformations. We've talked about impact. We've talked about emotions. There's just been so much in this conversation. I thank you all for your contribution, and I want to thank you all for being the women that you are and sharing your stories. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sabina. Thanks a lot, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so,
thank you.
take care and bye for now.